Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Genuine APBT. On today's episode, I want to talk about dog fighting and dog matching the American Pit Bull Terrier and how this practice can have a devastating effect on the future of our breed. Before we go any further, I want to let you know that I am a Christian and I'm a follower of Jesus Christ through the Bible. The reason this is relevant is because this is going to set the foundation for the position that I hold on dog fighting. The position that I hold is I do not support it. I do not condone it in any way. I firmly stand against its practice because it is illegal. It is absolutely illegal. So in Romans 13, the Bible says something that I want to read to you so you can understand where I'm coming from. Romans 13 verses 1 and 2 says the following: Every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God, and they who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves. What that means is very simply this, that every law and every authority that is established has been established by God. And it's a direct command for every person to obey those laws and to submit to that authority. If the person breaks that law and decides to do something illegal against the law, you're actually opposing what's been established by God. So I believe that clearly states my position and why I hold to it. So let me remind you of the purpose of this video one more time. The purpose of the video is to preserve the American Pit Bull Terrier, the preservation of the game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier. In order to do that, I have to state my position and I have to put the information that I feel in my heart, and you can take it however you want. It might upset some people. It is not my intention to do that. It is not my intention to point fingers at anyone. It is very simply this: to state what I believe dogfighting is today and to state the possible damage that it will do to the American Pit Bull Terrier. So if you want to preserve the breed, it is important to listen to these things and then think about them, not just react to them in a quick emotional way, in anger or disagreement, but to process them, really give them some consideration and see if whatever I'm saying today is going to be helpful to preserve the American Pit Bull Terrier or if it's going to hurt it. And if you really love the breed, if you really want to preserve the breed, I think you will agree to the position that I hold. At least I hope you do. So let's start with the first point of this video. What is dogfighting today? Well, we have to do this in order to understand it. We have to do it from a comparison standpoint. Somewhere prior to the mid-1960s and up to 1976, where it became illegal in every state. Prior to the 1960s, when it started becoming illegal in some states, the activity of dog fighting and dog matching was regarded by most people and by the people that practiced it as a sporting event. This event was practiced by men that took these things extremely serious. They dedicated their entire life and energy to these things: the breeding, the feeding, the housing, the schooling, all the keeps or the training for these events. And this was from men all over the world and the country that dedicated, again, their lives to this. Dogfighting was truly open to the world and not limited to the underground illegal activity that it is today. You had a dog that was considered, that had the possibility to be a champion or a grand champion. Usually a dog like that was open to the world, and the people that were participating in it were not considered criminals because the practice was accepted and legal. After the mid-60s, and particularly after 1976, the practice of dogfighting and dog matching was considered illegal. And by default, by nature, by necessity, the people that practiced this after it was illegal in every state were really practicing an illegal activity, which makes the people practicing the activity criminals. This is extremely, extremely important for a couple of reasons. The first reason is prior to the mid 1960s, the men and women that were practicing this were open. It was open to the world. So there was a lot of people practicing this that maybe after the mid 1960s in 1976 no longer thought it was worth risking everything they owned or their family or fines or time in prison to practice this sport. So a lot of the people that were very good at practicing this removed themselves entirely from the life of the American Pit Bull Terrier. That left behind a vacuum. It left behind people that considered the activity so important or desired to practice the activity, and they were willing to risk a lot, especially after 2008 when it became a felony. So that brings us to the practice today. The people that are practicing this activity, I don't believe, it is my personal opinion that I do not believe they are like the people that were practicing it prior to the 1960s, for the simple fact that if you're willing to risk everything for something that is illegal, then you are a criminal. You are not the sportsman, dog, man before the 1960s. You are not this person. You can tell yourself that you're this person, but you're not. Another thing that should be pointed out is that pre-1960s, the champion and grand champion dogs of that era could have very well been open to the entire world. After 1976, that was not possible. In other words, you could have opened it up to the underworld or the group of people that were still practicing this when it was made illegal in every state. But whether you want to admit it or not, that limited the possibility of other true dogmen that had the capacity to breed, train, and bring to the pit fantastic dogs. It limited them. Some of those people in no way wanted to practice this activity, either a conscious conviction that it just was not right and they didn't want to participate in something that was illegal, or they just didn't want to risk everything that they owned. So the champions that are out today, or champions or grand champions that were titled that after 1976, are interim champions. You cannot say that they are true world champions or true world grand champions for the simple fact that you cannot openly offer these dogs to the world. And even if you did, a lot of true dogmen that have the capacity to possibly produce a dog that can beat these grand champions, they would never practice it because it is illegal. So in my view, every champion, every grand champion that exists today is an interim grand champion. He's not a true open to the world, all out world champion. And I'm not saying this again to offend anyone. I'm simply saying this to state true facts, and maybe you would consider this and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I participating in this? When I'm not really opened up to the entire world, I can't be because it is illegal. The second reason in this first point is, if we are going to recognize that the people that currently practice dogfighting are criminals, then what happens is more criminal element, criminals from other types of illegal activities come to the practice of dogfighting. That brings with it a whole different spectrum of other things, different types of violent crimes that are associated with the practice of dogfighting, narcotic sales, possession of unregistered weapons, even gang-related activity, gambling that is to a measure that is life-threatening, There's a whole bunch of other activities that accompany the practice of dogfighting as it is today, just because it is an underground activity. It's so underground, it is so clandestine that the only people, again, that are practicing this or going there to view this are people that are deeply involved in illegal activity. Maybe not all of them. Maybe the people that are practicing it are only in it to the extent of the dogs, but you cannot control the other people that are coming to be spectators or possibly participate in one way or the other. So this leads me to the second point in the video. And the second point is, how does all this affect the future of the game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier? Let me remind you again why I made this video. It is not just to talk about things that are already known. It is to bring them up in the hopes that the people that are getting into these dogs, or people that have been in these dogs 15 years or less, would not practice this activity that is illegal, because it is, in my opinion, going to be the most detrimental thing that affects the life of the American Pit Bull Terrier, or the future of the American Pit Bull Terrier. The parts of the government that are going and creating legislation that is breed specific, the people in the government that are doing this, they are open and hearing information that is limited. They are not hearing true dog people, people that really love the American Pit Bull Terrier and advocate for it. They're not listening to them. They're listening to people that are very uninformed, people that are hypersensitive, people that maybe read a few things on the American Pit Bull Terrier or only glamorize the occasional dog bite. And then they sit and they have the ear of lawmakers. What do you think the biggest thing that they're going to talk about is? What do you think the subject is? Do you really think it's dog bites? You'd be silly to think that, because if you just look at the amount of dog bites that are reported from an American Pit Bull Terrier, it is less than a lot of other accepted breeds in this country. The thing they're going after is dog fighting. Why? Because of the other things associated with it now. What we talked about, the drug use, gangs, the inability to control the situation when there's high stakes, high gambling. A lot of the things that are going on there have attracted the attention of law enforcement and lawmakers in every state. And so practicing this is not preserving the breed. So why would I want to make this video? Again, because I care about the dogs. That's it. I like the camaraderie of other men and women that love the breed, and it's nice to share positive, encouraging comments with one another, but that is not why I created this channel. That is not why I am making this video. I am making this video first and foremost because I love the game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier. It is the only breed I've ever owned. It is the only breed I love, and I don't want to lose this beautiful breed because of the ignorance and the willingness of some people to continue to fight it. Now, if you think that the only way to preserve this breed is to match it or fight it in a dog fighting competition, you are selling the American Pit Bull Terrier very cheap. I truly believe that your inexperience is showing, because if you believe that that is the only way to preserve the true game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier, then you haven't made this dog part of your everyday life. This dog, you haven't experienced it. This dog is a dog that you can have with you at work, in your car, around your family, on vacation, on a boat, in the water, on the field, hunting, visiting people. Your neighbors should all know the American Pit Bull Terriers that you own, and should be able to come up to them and pet them. I have done that for the last 20 years of my life with my dogs. I have been an advocate for them. I have been an ambassador for the breed. That is the only way you're going to truly preserve this breed. You're not going to preserve this breed by simply keeping them and feeding them and housing them, and that's it. If you do not take them out and show the world what this breed truly is, then you're not part of preserving them. But getting back to the video, if you are participating in any way with dogfighting, then what you are doing in essence is cutting the legs out from underneath the game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier. The dog that you profess to love, you are actually doing things against this dog, and you can care less. You have decided that in order for you to keep participating in the events that you like to participate in, you have decided that you will do this at the cost of the possible elimination of the breed altogether. And that's horrific. That's exactly why I made this video, is to bring attention to this. And listen, the people that are doing breed-specific legislation, this is really, really sad. Instead of us dogmen or people that really love this breed, that know this breed, that have experienced this breed for 15 years plus, that have had several dogs, and all those dogs have given great, beautiful, sound, stable temperament results. Instead of us being the ones that are heard by the legislature, they are listening to people that don't even own these dogs, people that have a hidden agenda against these dogs, hypersensitive people that don't know anything truly about the American Pit Bull Terrier, and that are sitting there, again, with the ear and with the attention of the people that write the laws. So if you love this breed, don't just sit there. Openly talk. If you know people that are fighting them, talk to them. Be kind and talk to them and encourage them to leave this activity. This activity is not the activity that it was historically. It was a different time. It was a different era. And now it is completely illegal. So don't participate in it. Speak up against it amongst yourselves, at least. Talk amongst yourselves if you know that people are illegally participating in this activity. Again, please let me remind you, this video is not to point fingers at anyone. I don't know anybody that's doing this, and I don't care to know anyone that's doing this. I'm simply putting it out there to the general American Pit Bull community to consider these things. It is not to offend anyone. It is not to get a knee-jerk reaction from people. Think about it. Again, think about these things. Think about and see if they are true. And remember, biblically, it is illegal. Biblically, we are commanded to submit ourselves to the authority because the authority has been placed there by God. So like always, know them, love them, and raise them responsibly. I hope this video was encouraging, and I hope you will be part of preserving this breed. It is the best breed on the planet.